PlayStation 5 has been with us for the third year, for which no secrets are left around this console. In this video, we will talk about 15 helpful tips and tricks on your PS5 that you may not have known about. So I suggest not to delay, enjoy watching. Let's start with the activation sound, the annoying squeak at the beginning, although many people like it here personally. But objectively, if you turn on the console at night, you can usually interfere with your partner or someone from the household to sleep. And if you are also annoyed by this sound, you can't replace it, although, as for me, the idea is quite interesting. But this sound can be turned off or made quieter. To do this, go to the system settings, and here we are looking for the beep sound section. Here, you can either change the volume or turn it off completely. By the way, far from the power button, with its help, you can speed up the work of the PS5 console if you often download new and delete old games. Since the cache is filled with unnecessary files over time, and the space on the disk is not infinite, with its filling, the speed of reading data decreases, which can interfere with longer turns on and, in general, not the fastest operation of the system. So, to fix this, you need to hold down the power button until 2 signals, after which the console will enter the safe mode, where we have to select the 5th item and confirm the action. Wait a little, and the console will reboot, after which you will notice the difference in the speed of the system. It is recommended that this be done at least once every 6 months or a year for prevention. But of course, the experience from new games would be entirely ordinary, even compared to the previous generation, if not for the new DualSense gamepad. I will only say that it can be easily customized, changing the gamepad's front panels like the console side panels. In any marketplace, there are a lot of different variations of prints or other colors. Just click one panel and put it in its place. You can also watch my previous video about installing new Spider-Man skins on my 2 gamepads. But DualSense has its downsides. This is not a long time of work from one charge, although the batteries are not removable here, and you can't replace them like on the Xbox and continue playing. Therefore, to extend this tiny amount of work, we return to the settings, but this time to the accessories section. Here, we are looking for the controller section and adjusting the intensity of all its functions, adaptive triggers, vibrations, brightness, indicators, and so on. Most importantly, turn off the speakers, especially if you are playing on headphones. And that's enough for you to notice the difference while all the other gamepad features will continue to work. And while we are not far from the settings, there is such a wonderful thing as the graphics settings in our PlayStation 5. It's not as varied as on the PC, but it allows you to choose either 30 frames with top graphics or 60 and more but with more blurring, who likes what. And so that all the games from the beginning are set with the settings you like, there is a separate section in which you can set your preferences. To do this, go to the Saved Data and Game Settings section and select Game Presets, the third one at the top. Here, you can set the level of difficulty you play most often, settings, graphics, which I talked about earlier, more detailed settings in games with a camera from the first or third person, and so on, which is very useful. It is also very convenient if you are an avid gamer indeed. There are a lot of different games in the library, among which, over time, it becomes challenging to find the right game, mainly if you played on PS4 and moved your account to a new PS5. Now, all your games can be sorted by folders, for example, cooperative, shooter, multiplayer, or any other you want. To do this, you need to go to your library of games and on the left, we find the Create Game List item. Then, select the desired games from the list for addition, enter the collection name, and create the folder. Now, you can quickly sort your games if you are a perfectionist like me. But, of course, many games will not fit into the internal memory. In the basic version, the memory capacity is about 667 gigabytes, minus the space that the system takes up. And in the slim version, it is more about 200 gigabytes, which is equivalent to 1 to 2 new games. So, in the current situation, we can add some space with extra SSD. You can install this one under a side plate, allowing you to launch any game instantly. But, of course, it is better not to install old games on the SSD and not to load memory. They work great on the external USB drive, so we installed the new ones on the SSD and the games from the previous generation on the external hard drive. Moreover, between these devices, they can even be transferred by a built-in mechanism. Just click on the game and select to transfer the game. Then choose the disk from which you want to download all the data. In the age of voice assistants and neural networks, Sony decided to integrate such a feature into its console, although in a limited number of languages. It is excellent when you can launch games by voice, rewind or pause multimedia. and even start and stop recording gameplay without getting distracted at the most crucial moment. All you need to do is say "Hey PlayStation" to activate the voice assistant, and then in English, say "Open game" and the name of the game you want to open, or start recording for footage gameplay, and so on. This feature has not been new since the beginning of last year, but if it was only in the beta test before, now it seems to be available to everyone, at least to many countries. The next one is not that it is a handy feature, but it looks very cool. As you probably already noticed, there is a backlight around the touchpad of the gamepad, and if you are tired of its usual options, you can switch to any other one you want. You must connect the DualSense to the computer and run a special program to do this. It is called DS4 Windows. In general, of course, it was developed for PS4 controllers, evidenced by the name and visualization of the pad in the program, but it still works. You can change the backlight color or even select the overflow, and you will be surprised by how many colors this gamepad can show. By the way, to change the glow of the LEDs on PS5 top itself, use special stickers. They are invisible when pasted on but become visible when the color of the console's glow changes, which is not the most helpful feature but surprised me a little. This is the fact that DualSense can be connected to the PlayStation 3 and play calmly. Of course, adaptive triggers or tactile vibrations will not work in this case. You might think that this is already a natural phenomenon, a kind of changing generation, the achievements of the past, and so on. But what is funny is that the new DualSense does not work with PS4. However, DualShock with PS4 calmly plays on PS5. It's a little weird. I don't know why you need to know this, but it seemed funny. If you don't know it, put a like under this video. Turn off the console if you turn off the TV via the remote control. For many, this thing seems obvious and exists even with PS3 or PS4, but you'll have to try it to work on some TVs. First, you need to find a special HDMI connector that supports the TV's CSC connection and only connects the console to it. Then you need to turn on such a function on the TV in the settings. On different TVs, it is in various places. In some, it is turned on by default. This is already in the instructions of your model. And finally, all that remains is to turn on the function itself on the PlayStation itself. Again, go to Settings, Systems, and HDMI. However, this thing is not always practical. For example, if you like to play your console wirelessly or differently, stream games from it to your phone, laptop, tablet, or even a brand new PS Portal. So if you want to start remote play at work or on vacation, the TV will turn on, along with the console. But after turning off the console, the TV does not turn off itself for some reason. Maybe, of course, only I have such a bug. I don't know, so you need to consider it. In general, the streaming function is fantastic. Also, in this generation, Sony added a function called 3D audio. Although maybe it was there before, but only now they have made such an emphasis on it, releasing not only headphones Pulse 3D, in which even in the name they emphasized the feature. After all, it is convenient when you understand by the sound where the enemy is, where you need to go, and so on. Moreover, it works very well. But if you don't want to buy additional headphones, 3D audio can be turned on even on a regular TV. You need to calibrate everything a little. To do this, go to Settings, Sound, and select 3D Audio TV speakers. Turn them on, and then follow the instructions for their calibration. And it really works. The control menu will open if you press the PlayStation button during the game. This is already known to everyone. If you hold this icon for a few seconds, the game will immediately pause, and you go to the main screen. And if you keep holding the PlayStation button on the controller for 10 seconds, it will turn off without turning off the console itself. This is handy when you need to step away for a while and not let the gamepad's battery drain unnecessarily. Double-clicking on the same button in the game opens the help menu. If, for example, you are stuck at some level and do not know where to go next. Moreover, this is not legalized cheating but only a helper as hint that does not spoil the game experience. Also, if you click on the triangle, the cursor will immediately move to the search, both in the main menu and in any other application where there is a search. If you hold the mute button of the microphone for a couple of seconds, all the sound on the console will turn off, not just the microphone. Thank you for watching to the end. If you learned something new for yourself, be sure to like it. Subscribe to the channel so as not to miss anything interesting. And see you in new videos.